Welcome to the Don't Die Rusty podcast. I'm Rick Hansen, and we will be talking about living, not dying. We're all in this adventure together, and we will be interviewing people who inspire us to live our best lives. People with various backgrounds who will walk us down the trails they took to not die rusty. Adventure in life are many things to many people. It could be a sprint or an endurance race, but with each adventure, we become a better version of us. We hope you keep chasing those dreams, being the best you, and of course, don't die rusty. Hello, Don't Die Rusty Nation. This is Rick, your host of the Don't Die Rusty podcast. And our co-host, Ricky Bruley, is driving down the road at the moment, so he can't be on the podcast. And Ashley Kurtenbach is back with us. You know what? I think she's going to be a regular because we just enjoy talking to her.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we get to have some interesting conversations and and I'm lucky enough to call you friend, and I know what kind of conversations you and I have had, so it's good. I love these conversations to get people thinking, but not only those people, but us.
Yeah.
Because after we're done recording, we always have more conversations 2 to 3 or 4, or actually every day later.
Yeah, you and I do, but it
Yeah.
also sparks other conversations with people I come across
Yeah.
just because things come up that trigger what we've talked about. And then I want to know what other people are thinking as well, or if it's just us. Because always tell you, I'm like, am I weird? Are we weird? Is it not normal that we talk about this? Because these are not normal conversations that you have with just every day, not coworkers or not necessarily.
No, you don't, because people don't want to talk about it.
Right.
And people are brushing what we talk about under the rug so they don't have to think about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into this conversation we had just this morning. Okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Because we're going to start out talking about our last episode of 24 Hours to Live. That has affected more people than I thought it would. And I'm glad that we have listeners, because I didn't know we had, you never know who's listening.
Mm-hmm.
But to have messages and people thinking about this stuff and wondering and saying, I never thought about it that way. I don't know what I'd do. I'm not prepared.
Right.
It's more like I don't know if all my plans are prepared, but here's the deal, I think. How many people are prepared to have a baby?
Yeah, that's
really.
true. Yeah.
But this is like you're done,
Yeah.
It's not like a baby, but
where you have
it's interesting, like Allie Eddie,
Mm-hmm.
if she sent us that message,
Yeah.
sent you that message and tagged us, and and to have people talking about this. My dad said he wouldn't tell anybody. He'd just go on with his daily life. How many people
Interesting.
thought about that, though?
That's why I initially asked if I was wondering if it was a male versus female almost.
Do you think it's a pride thing?
I don't know if it's a pride thing as much as it is like, okay, for example, a lot of the females I talked to that this conversation sparked and talking from their point of view, a lot of them would say that they would tell people if they had 24 hours. I don't think that it's about not being humble or prideful or anything like that. I think it's simply the caretaker, maybe, in people to know that, well, even your niece said it almost perfectly, verbatim. First thought would be my kid, my husband, are they going to be okay?
Yep.
And that's the caretaker.
Yep.
And that's natural for us. And I think we would want to do that just even beyond family.
Mm-hmm.
Family, friends, to know that we were kind of taking care of them till the very end.
Well, and that's where I wonder, when you're talking about that, the female perspective of I'm taking care of this. The male perspective is I'm not going to worry anybody else.
Right.
I'm going to, It'll just happen, and then I'm done.
I know. That's why I'm wondering if it's not in that way of thinking because of how we naturally are.
Because I would, you got me thinking, and I would have to tell Cindy.
Right.
And when we,
Have to.
and this is where I'm going with this today when we were talking.
Yep.
Because how many people truly that are in relationships or married or long term or whatever talk about what they want if they have left this earth?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I personally don't want to be put in a cemetery.
See.
I think they're cold, dark places. And Cindy and I went on our little. It's become this, like I think I told you today. It's become this annual thing now, to go up in the woods where I go, and there's beautiful aspens this time of year, and nobody's in there really at this time when we go in there. And she knows that's where I want to be
Mm-hmm.
because of the beauty, for one thing, and the view. But I think for me personally, if you came in, if you knew where I was, you're going to come in there and know that this is a beautiful place.
Right.
There's two places I want to be. One's in Montana, one's in Wyoming, which is funny because we live in South Dakota,
Yeah.
but that's the way it is. But I mean, I have songs that I know that I want to play because they mean something to me, and I think they mean something to the people that are listening.
Mm-hmm.
I told you in the last episode I wanna write my own eulogy. I want to say, Ashley, do you remember that time? I mean, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
When you said that, I thought that is such a great idea. So I want to do the same. I never thought about doing that. You just think, oh, well, when you pass, that's what they do. Everybody just handles it and they talk about you and that's it. But I think it would be more, they say it's a celebration of life instead of calling it a funeral. It's a little less morbid, or so they say. Um, I think if you wrote your own eulogy, maybe it would be more of a celebration of life because you would then, speak about those different relationships and the way you saw life. And I think, well, we can go back into the cremation
Mm-hmm.
or in a casket talk, but I think if you did write your own eulogy, it would give anybody who attended that some sort of closure that most people don't get because that's not normal.
No, and it isn't normal.
No, but it should be. I feel like it should be.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have people, close friends that come for you, more or less, but the family,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna have people that come for the family. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's not going to be some people you were acquaintances with, but they might have been friends with. For you, it'd be your brother or me, my sister, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
kind of stuff, or whoever. They're going to come to support them. But us pointing out those, like every podcast we've done,
Mm-hmm.
when we get to the end, what's the good life? Everybody says have your close circle of friends that you can trust forever. And that's who you would put in your eulogy. Not that other people aren't part of your life. It's those close circle of knit friends that you've spent a lot of time with.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about, and this is interesting. I've debated on some things, but tomorrow is my mom's birthday.
Oh,
And then next week will be, I think, is when she died.
her angelversary.
Yeah. But I thought about posting stuff, and I thought, no, that's personal to me right now.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But where I'm going with this is when you learn about that stuff, I don't want to have a church funeral.
Yeah.
I want to have that celebration of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say, so, because some places wouldn't let you have your own eulogy.
Yeah.
And some
Yeah.
people wouldn't let you play your own music.
Yeah. I was talking about death and lining things up, and the more I've talked to people, I didn't realize how many people I knew that have never talked about this to their spouse as to things that they want. And that's, I don't know. I've always been that way. I've always said to the people close to me, this is what I want. I mean, my friends know, my husband knows, my mom now knows after a very controversial conversation. She was not on board with the fact that I wanted to be cremated. And for the same reason, and my hairstylist, actually, we were talking about this last week. She said, yeah, I don't want to be put in a cemetery either. I don't want someone to feel like they can only go to one place to visit me. And that's exactly how I think we think. She just said it very profoundly. And she said, I want people to go to the mountains and think of me, to feel close to me, and not a cemetery. And I think you're the same way. I'm the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a plot in the ground. And my mom was more, I think, when I first brought it up, just it's tradition. And we kind of get in these roles of that's what we do. And at first she said it was extremely selfish of me to want to be cremated because she didn't feel like you could get closure. And okay, so that would be a great question for you and Ricky, actually. Do you feel like with having like a casket at a funeral, do you feel that that is closure that you need
No,
without having a conversation?
I don't need that closure.
Or like, I guess I couldn't understand at first why you needed to see someone physically in that state in order for the closure, because you didn't believe it, or I guess I didn't understand what my mom was really saying when she said that.
Well,
She said that I would be, by choosing cremation, I would be robbing that
well, to me,
from people.
an open casket, they don't look real.
Yeah,
You don't look like the person you were.
yeah,
And I want to remember the person you were.
yeah, exactly. I don't want to be remembered like that.
Because there's no, I'm not trying to be morbid, but there's no color. There's no, I hate it when people
I
say,
know it's
oh,
so.
they look better now. What the heck?
You know what's funny? So I brought this up to another friend just in the last week, and I said, we were talking about this, totally different person. And I said, I don't want that to be the lasting impression. And she goes, no. She goes, I remember when my grandpa died. It's burned into my skull that that's the way he looked. And now that's the last picture of him that I have ever since being a child at his funeral. What I wanted to do was remember him when he was living life and laughing.
And you were talking about being in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And think about this. You're cremated. You're put in these mountains. I mean, I'm put up in these aspens or in the wildflowers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't people have a smile on their face when they look at those wildflowers in
Yeah,
the spring and the aspens in the winter? I mean, in the fall.
absolutely.
Nobody's ever, like I said, we aren't going to be remembered after so many generations anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So why not be in a place of happiness for us? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, who know if will we know we're there? I don't know. But
Right.
but that's a part about hope. That's part about believing
Yeah.
that we will know we're partially there.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to get back because I had kind of a mind fog here when we were talking about, but the part that I was talking about with my mom was to write her obituary. Nobody was prepared.
Really.
Well, you know, the obituary wasn't wrote. You try to write things, but you don't know exactly what to write.
Did she give you any direction at all
No, I'm
as
not.
to what?
No.
No.
So here's the deal.
It's interesting.
Here's the deal. Like, why can't we write our own? Like,
Right.
that's where I was getting back to, because it's hard for people to say, what would I say about Ashley Kurtenbach? Well, some of the things I would say about you in an obituary or in a eulogy is more personal to me, and then because you know me
Mm-hmm.
and you know me pretty well.
Yeah.
And I try to, even in the dark, hard times, I try to make people laugh. So
Absolutely.
I would probably say something funny, and then people wouldn't appreciate it, and then it'd be like, that dumb
Right.
son of a gun.
Right. Why would you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it would make sense for that relationship, how you say things. Yeah, I definitely think that's something I've thought about. I do actually have some things written down
Yeah.
in case I didn't really think of it as a eulogy. I just did it, I mean, just in case, because the life we live, I always think the things that we choose to do, um, especially when Jesse and I were traveling for different hunting trips, I was like, death could be a real thing out here.
Yeah.
And then you think, what if something does happen? Did I have the last conversation that I should have had? And that's so many people, and that's so hard to think about. You're just going on a trip.
Yeah.
It's mildly dangerous, but if it gets real sketchy, it gets real sketchy fast.
Well,
And then you're not coming back. And so after that, I started, I wrote like this letter and notes, and I revisit it every year to see if it still holds the same value I wanted it to have. But I think that would give a lot of closure to family, friends, whatever. So.
well, I was laughing because when you're talking about sketchy trips, I was remembering our trip back from Salt Lake City from the Western Hunting Expo.
Oh my
And we
gosh.
saw a car slide all the way into the ditch and up on the other side of the
I
road.
thought we were going to watch somebody die.
You
I
know,
really did. That was so scary.
it was icy roads here and there, and
Yeah.
it took us took us 5 hours longer to get home
Yeah.
and we kept on going. And but I think everybody's been in those situations. I made it through that.
Close call.
Yeah, that was kind of scary.
Yeah.
But then I'm not saying you're invincible, but it's like, whew, thank you, God.
I know. 7 lives. 9 lives. 7 lives. 3. Like, you feel like you just marginally escaped death.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I just I do keep on thinking about this stuff, and then I just showed you that other podcast and the lady that told us about the 5 L's, but it was, I just find this stuff interesting, and like I said, this isn't about dying, it's about living your life to the fullest so you can write that eulogy and have those experiences with those people and write that obituary and said, because here's another deal that I was just talking to a guy today. I'm not aging well right now. I am not aging well because I still think I'm 25.
Yeah.
And I'll break down and I'll hurt all night long and still feel like I'm 25. But I have to realize I'm slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still active, and
Yeah.
I'm never going to stop being active. It's just that I'm not fast like I used to be. I'm not
Don't
healing like I used to
recover.
be,
Yeah.
and I'm not aging well in that aspect in my mind. So now I'm going to get to, we've talked about death long enough,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll probably come back to that later
Yeah.
in life. But we have, both of us are reading, and Ricky is going to read it too. We have a book that we're reading, and we talked about it in the last podcast. It's called The Extinction of Experience, Being Human in a Disembodied World by Christine Rosen. And I would love to talk to Christine Rosen if you ever listen to this podcast.
Sign her up.
Yeah, but we started talking about this, and it's like I'm thirsty in the desert, and I'm reading this like as fast as I can. I mean, I just got a few chapters in right now, but I can't. Every chance I get, at least I try to read a page or two. And it's interesting. You had some thoughts about losing experiences, like you were talking about earlier about how she talked about we're losing eye contact.
Yeah.
We're losing communication skills.
Yeah.
And that, when you start thinking about that stuff, you start realizing that stuff.
Now I'm hyper aware.
Aren't you?
100%. Every public place, ever since reading the first 2 chapters, every public place I go into, I find myself, can I resist? Let's say you go to a coffee shop and you're waiting in line. So, not having the eye contact, she was referring to everyone being on their phones, waiting in line, in a patient waiting room, in any sort of line, anywhere you're out in public. I mean, even getting groceries. I'll be honest, I'm one of the people, my list is on my phone. I'm looking at things. I'm barely making eye contact with anybody in the store. I'm just trying to get my stuff, figure out what I need in between, somebody texts or calls you as well. And you've probably passed, 50 people. How many people have you actually locked eyes with? And when you do, it's almost awkward because we're getting away from it. So she referenced that to people being on their phones, that eye contact is almost becoming extinct. I mean, there's self-checkout. You don't even have to talk to the cashier anymore.
I know.
And then she further went on to describe how without that, it talks about all the muscles in your face. And I can't quote the exact number. It's a lot. And how many different emotions show anger and happiness, or mild movements in between different emotions that you express with your face. Because we're not looking at people every day anymore into their face and reading the nonverbal cues, we're actually losing that ability to see how people feel without communicating directly to them.
Because there was also one part in there that said, oh, gee, many cripes. It was about, we lost it's how the app makes you feel, not how the people make you feel, more or less. We
Yeah.
don't care about
Yes.
people. We care about the app experience.
Yep.
And I find it in this world where everything is going digital, more or less. Like, and I hate this at my job.
Yeah.
I will tell you, because you're hired on a computer. You're you do all your other stuff on a computer. You do not have as much human contact, but
Yep.
yet we're in a retail situation. So how do you hire people on a computer and then you have retail know if they can talk to people?
Customer service.
Yeah.
That's why I think a lot of people say customer service is dead these days, because when you have someone, it's one thing to call in on the phone, right, and talk to you, but when you're face to face, obviously I own a store, and customer service is a big thing to make sure that people are acknowledged. I see you, I hear you, you do exist, and communicating with people. And it's hard to even find staff, especially younger, that can do a wide range of things, including communicate. We've built a killer team right now at Two Broke Girls, and but you will find, as we have hired and, we've had people leave and whatever, it's interesting to see how some it comes naturally and how they get it and then you'll have someone the exact same age and the communication is flawed. It's it's so weird with a stranger. And it's not so much as friends communicating, right? Because when you're comfortable with somebody, you look them in the eye, we have conversations. But it's a complete different situation when it's a stranger anymore that you've never met, to strike up a conversation. And like that lady alludes to in the book, like, will it be extinct at some point where we no longer can read human emotions and we fail to communicate? Do we all just walk around society? And how long is it? 5 years, 10? I don't know. I can't wait to read the rest of the book, because I'll be honest, when you suggested the book, you read it, you're like, the extinction experience. I was like, what is this book really? What is this gonna do for me? Because the title doesn't allude to like this is gonna be an exciting book, but you read into it and it slaps you in the face to something.
Well,
you didn't even think about.
You know what slapped me in the face?
What?
Because you were there with me too. And our spouses were with us too. And it kind of hit me. Okay.
I'm trying to think.
We're coming back from Salt Lake in a storm.
Oh, yeah.
And what she said.
Seems to be the going theme.
It is. There's always a storm when we're coming back from Salt Lake. But what she talked about is and this wasn't GPS, but we look at our GPS more than we look out the window when we're trying to go someplace.
Yep.
And on our way home, everybody's looking at the weather. Well, the weather is right outside. We don't have to look. It's not nice out.
Yeah.
And everybody's, you were working,
Mm-hmm.
but people are looking at their phones to see what's ahead of us. And that, I was getting pissed. And I get pissed because it's not like, it's like the questions that we're asking are like, just look out the window and let's see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not knocking people, but it's like I was in the woods with this guy for one day,
Mm-hmm.
hunting elk in Wyoming, and he had Onyx on all the time we're going through the woods. Like he didn't want to get lost. And I'm going, how are you going to see an elk if you're looking at your frickin' phone? Here's what I do, and I'm going to put this, and you know this too, but I mark where my pickup is,
Mm-hmm.
and then I put on the tracker, and then I get back to the pickup and I go, holy smokes, look where I walked. I'm not worried about where I'm going. I'm going where the animals or whatever, I'm trying to find something.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've lost the experience because so many people are worried about everything else but what's out in front of them. And that one hit me hard. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be something but different, but I'm not hating on Cindy or Jesse. I'm just saying it's funny how we get to those points where, like you said, you're in line, you're in the vehicle. When I went places with my mom and dad, you looked out the window.
Yeah. And if it got bad enough, you pulled over.
Well, I remember coming back from a wrestling tournament, and my dad had his head out the window trying to see the road.
I've done that before.
You know what I mean. But here's what I'm saying. And I remember my mom praying and all this other stuff. You know, like let's get us home. But you know what? When we got home, the experience was in that vehicle. But when we got home, we watched a movie, and that's one of the closest times I felt because we all watched a movie, made popcorn. We're home. We're warm. We're safe. But we're losing those experiences because I'm not trying to dog people here, but when you put that video in front of those kids as you're driving down the roads, those kids are always going to look at the video.
Mm-hmm.
They're always going to have the headphones on. How much AM radio did you listen to when you were a kid?
Good plenty.
But
when you ran out of FM.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, the extension of these experiences, and we're going to get deeper into this thing in a few more different other podcasts, but we're just touching, like you said before we started this thing, you said we could go for hours and days talking about this stuff.
Yep.
But I'm really saddened at times because we lose sight of the things that are in front of us and around us. And I posted that thing the other day of we need to. I'm going to have to look this up, but it struck me when we were out in the woods, Cindy and I. It really struck me. All is lost if you can't hear the silence and see the world that surrounds you. And what I meant by that is when you're in the woods, you hear it's not silent, but you think it is. We had turkeys walking by us. We had bulls bugling. We had the wind through the leaves. But how many people hear that stuff? How many people stop to hear that stuff,
and
to hear
present.
the birds and be present where they are, and then look around and say, you know what? Because I'm telling you, Sunday night was the most beautiful night. There was no wind. The sights were great, and we enjoyed the cool breeze. And maybe I get mad that people don't experience it, but I'm also happy they don't, because then they'd be where I am.
Maybe. But there's also just being present in a number of other situations. And
well, I'll be darned.
Look at that. But
Ricky Bruley is joining us here, folks.
Look at that.
Howdy. How's it going?
Look at this studio setup. The lighting.
Yeah, I got a laser
amazing.
light show going on back here.
Look at that
logo.
Look at that! I got to get one of those.
Oh man!
Put it right in there.
Yeah,
it looks good.
This is just the beginning of the sign. It's going to look much better when I'm done with it.
That's awesome.
Well,
I was in here messing around last night trying to get things set up.
Anyway. I'm gonna have to up my game.
Yeah, you're gonna need some.
Oh no, I felt like I had to up my game because you got all these books and stuff. Like I got a wooden frame with nothing in it.
Ricky,
how do you display
it's
1,000 audiobooks?
You could just. I mean, you could get the fake ones. Just put a bunch of covers or something up there, it'll look fine.
You could go to the library one day and check out 1,000 books and put it behind you and take the picture.
There you go. Mine are all going to be leather bound.
All right. Well, we were talking about experience, but actually, Ashley, we're gonna jump back into our previous conversation.
Yeah.
And
he's on.
He's on. You ask Ricky these questions.
Okay, so one question. Okay, you already answered on the phone, but we'll just say it for your listeners. Since our last podcast on the 24 Hours to Live, have you thought more about it just ever since then?
Yes.
Just more in depth about it. Okay.
Yes. It really gets you thinking. Susan and I had a conversation about it afterwards too, and she was like, "You better tell me."
See, I know it's like this real conversation you start to have.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering. So that was another question. Did you have any further conversations about it? And then I asked Rick. I was like, I really need to know. Have you had any sort of change of thought of if you would tell or wouldn't tell anybody if you did have 24 hours to live?
Gosh, I really feel like it would have to come down to the moment. It's hard to answer that question, but I know, like, even when I had mentioned in the previous episode, I know that there's no chance I'd be able to not tell my wife. Like, there's no way that I'd be able to sit down with her and not be able to,
Right.
She'd know. She just knows. She can read me like a book. And I'm not a good liar either. So ultimately I think I would probably end up just telling people, because I don't think I would be able to get away with it. You know what I mean? Like, people would know something's not right.
Well, because we talked about, like, I'd have to tell Cindy, she'd have to tell Jesse, but how many other people would you tell? And we were also going on, do you think, like, females were the caretakers, we'll say, and they'd want everybody to be comfortable and tell people, but do you think males in general wouldn't want to tell people because they wouldn't want to worry people? In a caretaking sense of itself.
Yeah, I brought that up because I've noticed, having this conversation with multiple people, that females are like, yep, I'd have to tell somebody. I'd have to tell everybody. And males were primarily kind of saying, I don't think I would.
I think with males, and maybe this would apply to ladies too, but I feel like it would be generational. You know what I mean? I feel
Maybe.
like, you get the silent generation, you got Gen Xers, they may be more adamant and maybe not say anything. And then I feel like some of the younger generations might be more open with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That could
Just a
definitely be
speculation.
too. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
But I do,
that's
to a
fair.
certain degree, agree that I think most of the ladies are probably going to be wide open about it, and then I think you're going to get a mix of men that may or may not.
Yeah, interesting.
That is very, and that's kind of where we went. It's just interesting because we were also talking about, like, we want a celebration of life, and we wanted to write our own eulogies as well as our own, because we were talking about writing our own obituaries too, because it probably too. I don't, and we can, like, I was just saying we're coming on the anniversary of my mom dying, and uh, you went through it, but writing an obituary for somebody is tough.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily my sister Wendy wrote my dad's for the most part, and then we just kind of went through it. And then my mom's, oh my goodness, I don't even remember. I feel like my sister Wendy did that one too. Like that almost like just became her role. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so sorry, I didn't mean to pull this on me. We were talking about you, and
No, it's you. It's about all of us.
but I don't know how to. Yeah, it's not fun. It's certainly a really dark time, without a doubt. And so it would be interesting to kind of write your own but I feel like I would need an editor, because at that point I may as well just write an autobiography.
I agree with you there, because we were talking about, like, that would take pressure off of people, and because everybody seems to write, like, he was a good person, this
Yeah,
and that kind of crap, and I want to say, you know what,
loving husband.
a loving husband, and he beat his wife,
Oh,
kind of
it's
thing.
Well, that's
terrible.
not
You
something to
know,
laugh about, I guess. But
Oh
yeah,
no.
but you know what I mean.
Oh,
That's just that's kind of things that happen, and
right.
I want to write.
yeah,
I'm going to write my own, and I'm going to write the eulogy too, and we're going to make it fun. So if you guys come, remember that.
You wrote it?
Yeah, I wrote it.
yeah, yeah. We'll have to,
Gotcha.
like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, we might have to make a wax statue of you, Rick, where you're like wearing the red, white, and blue boxers, and maybe
Socks.
you're on maybe you're sitting on a saucer sled thing, like cruising down a hill.
Maybe, because I just want. I think you should be remembered. I mean, everybody changes in life, but I think we need to. It's interesting to me how you look at yourself and how other people look at you too. And how would you write this? Would I go to you? Would I go to Ashley? Would I go to Cindy? Would I go to maybe my dad or sisters or whatever and ask them what they think of me? But nobody's ever going to tell you the truth in some aspects. Some people would, but if I think you and I have become more introspective since we've been starting Don't Die Rusty podcast. Not that we weren't before,
Certainly.
but
Mm-hmm.
the podcast has helped us be more introspective. So I think we'd be more truthful with ourselves.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I know that I'm not. I have room for improvement every day, but I'm just saying I think we would look at ourselves in a different manner.
I don't see how you guys couldn't. Well, we were just, before you jumped on, Ricky, we were talking about experiences. We were talking about being present, but really, the people that you've interviewed have such great life stories and life experience. I feel because you're present, because you're talking to them and communicating to them, that is an experience. And it probably is changing a little bit, both of you, how exactly like what you said. You be more truthful about yourself or be more open, perhaps. just in learning about other people and getting comfortable with different experiences of life, and you compare it to your own, subconsciously or not, so I don't see how you couldn't. The more people you're going to talk to and the more conversations you have like this, that affects it. Look, Ricky went and talked to his wife and was like, I don't think I'd say anything. What? Like you'd have to say something to your spouse if you had 24 hours to live, you know? And I mean, you already had that conversation. So I think definitely.
Well, I can just see Susan's expression on her face when
Yeah,
you said that.
exactly.
You would say that to her, Ricky. Like,
Well,
I could just see a finger pointing.
1 foot in the grave. 1 foot in the grave.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it was, I don't know. I think that's part of, like you're saying, us being more introspective too. Like, me just knowing, even though I said what I probably wouldn't want to tell people, I know myself good enough to know that I would have to, I just know that there's no chance that I'd be able to keep a straight face. And then at that point, what are you even trying to do? You know what I mean? Like, just say
Exactly.
it,
Yeah.
get it out. And she, and of course she gets it, right? She understands the other side of the coin, but, she did feel like, Kelly's perspective, she didn't really necessarily agree with that. But again, this is like we're talking about ladies, the way the ladies would handle it as opposed to the way that the men would handle it. So,
yep. And then this is, I look back at the Jerry Norton episode we just did, and when we have these conversations, this has given people permission to think and talk about this stuff too. If you listen to this conversation. So if we're raising conversations with people about this stuff, then we're all winning here, aren't we? I mean, and for Ashley to keep on calling me about this conversation that we had, like she's had close experiences in the last
since that podcast, since we recorded that episode, I have not only seen someone in our community that like we all knew just recently pass extremely quickly.
oh my gosh.
Right. Like, and it was about 24 hours. It was about
Really?
24 hours. Yeah. And it gives me the chills. I called Rick and I said it was about 24 hours when everybody got the call from, like hospice to we talked about it figuratively, and that was a real life deal. That was one situation.
next day.
Yeah. Like,
you called me about
the next day
person.
I called. So someone I knew from back home had a cancer diagnosis, and what they thought was a little was actually became a bigger, it's more spread. And the oncologist asked, do you want a timeline? And her husband sat down, had a conversation, and said, no, we don't. And then I asked Rick, I was like, what would you do?
Yeah.
Would you ask for it? Because we all know people. I know several people who have been diagnosed with some sort of disease or disorder, cancer or whatever, and they get an approximate timeline. I've seen many of them live for years past what that timeline is, at all different ages. But I don't know if I've ever heard anybody out loud say, I don't want to know the timeline.
That's a wild question. And like for me, immediately I go, well, yeah, because I want to know the odds that I need to beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna tell me I have a month, right? I'm gonna beat that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make sure.
Right.
I want to make sure that I hit that goal, right? When I hit that month, then I'm gonna have a celebration, and then just keep on cranking. I don't know.
Right. But I know. I thought about it, and I was like, well, if you knew you had 6 months, you could plan to do some things, and if you get all that done, great. Whether it's a vacation, or I would probably want to know, just so I could have a guesstimate as to how I would be feeling months, if you're immobile for the last, like take the Shockey family, for example.
Mm-hmm.
When you finally wear down from whatever, whether it be cancer or whatnot, and you can't do anything, you'd want to rush, but also you've heard these stories where people go out and blow their life savings and they beat cancer.
Yeah.
It's just, it's very interesting because it's happened before. I just thought it was really interesting. The timeline question. Would you want to know? Would you not?
Yeah, I think I'd definitely want to know. Yeah. I mean, especially if they're like, I don't know, to your point, I guess you got to be kind of careful with some of that stuff, but you can't slide into the grave with all of your possessions either, so maybe you should spend that money, or maybe you should, enjoy it while you can.
It's one of those questions like, yeah, I might want to have this because like Ricky was saying, it's kind of like I want to beat it. It's like, and when I was climbing Crow Peak and I could see people like 300 yards ahead of me, I know that gave me a goal to catch them, even though this isn't a race and I don't even know who they are and I don't want to catch them, but it's like, I want to prove to you that I can pass you and I'm in better shape or something like that, and you don't even know those people, right, or wherever you are, I mean, it's like, I'm going to beat you there just because I'm going to kick my own ass just so I can prove it to you, and you don't even know there's skin in the game, and so on that side I'd want to know. On the other side, it's like, I don't know. I me knowing that, here's the deal. I don't care if you tell me about a movie and tell me how it ends, I'm still going to watch it. So I would probably want to know the end. Know the whole story anyway.
Well, here's the reality. Then when you think about it, we're all on a timeline, right? If you take every year of your life as a dash, right? So you kind of, or a dot. You could do lots of dots. You think about it that way, and so you say, well, I'm gonna live life to the fullest regardless. Well, you should be anyway, because you never know what everybody's timelines are going to be. Some of us kind of know where it's going to be sort of anyway, or approximately. But it's interesting. It seems to come up more with cancer, obviously, when you have an oncologist who's sitting there weighing out, well, this is what it's doing, and we're checking how fast it grows and things like that, and what that looks like. But the reality is we're all on a timeline.
We are.
So let's just know how it could be quicker than others. It's crazy.
Yeah, so spend all your money tomorrow. Just all of it.
Just send it.
Just do it.
Send it. Jesse, I'm buying a sheep hunt. What? It's fine. I just won 401k. We don't need it. It's fine.
I don't have to worry about that. I don't have any money, so I'm good. I'm not going to do much more than I'm already doing. So
yeah,
you're good.
Just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yep. We have nothing to leave. Just some mounts in the house.
And all my digital books.
Yeah, that's valid.
But we were touching, I don't know if did you listen to any of that? Did you listen to the book at all? Or did you get it at all?
Yeah.
Because what we were talking about was, when you came on, I'm going to get rid of, we'll get rid of death for a little while here, okay? But what we were talking about is like GPS. We look at we look at our GPS in our cars to see where we're going. And we really don't look around us to see where we've been.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And And we were also talking about being in line at the grocery store, or being in line or at any place, and everybody is on their phone these days because they're so entertained. They need that entertainment or that fix instead of having eye contact with people.
We're really losing eye contact in society because of phones. And we were just talking about how we're losing the ability to actually read emotions on people because we're not, it's like every day. You know, when you learn to walk, you get better at it because you're doing it constantly. Well, same thing as we evolve into adulthood, we're learning how to read human reactions with all the muscles in your face. The more we don't have those interactions with other people, the more likely you will lose that ability to read emotions, to learn how to communicate. Because if you can't read an emotion, if I feel like you're sad, but I am unaware that maybe your day is going bad because I can't read your emotions, and I go talk to you instead of asking you, hey, is there something wrong? Yada, yada, yada. Instead of that, we brush over and we talk about something totally irrelevant when you could have benefited from a conversation that would have let you talk about how you were really feeling, or developing relationships with complete strangers. I told Rick before we got on, I said, Jesse and I may have never met if it was today, because we literally had a conversation the night we met in the line to the bathroom before phones were smart. This was back in the day when all you had was text messaging and email. And who's checking their email on a Saturday night? Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's checking it. So you had to talk to people when you were standing in line for the bathroom at a rib fest because it's 45 minutes long. And what else are you going to do? So you can't scroll. So you end up having conversations with people who are in the like situation as like you're in. We're both waiting to go to the bathroom. There's a million people out here and we can't have any beer out here, you know? And then after Jesse and I had that initial conversation waiting in line for the bathroom, we didn't have beers because you had to get rid of them, whatever. And he was like, do you want me to buy you a beer? Sure. Then it continued from there, but that would have never happened with cell phones today. Because I would have been scrolling and he would have been scrolling.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like, you know, I'm stuck in between this digital and like more primitive world, you know, like I want to be more on the primitive side of things, but then my day to day and everything that we do, including the podcast and all those kinds of things, require all this technology. And as I'm listening to the book that is about using digital devices on my digital device, and it's being read, it's actually being read by an AI voice. So it's like really hard to listen to because it's, if you can imagine what that's like. So the irony is interesting there, but yeah, I had just it's an 8-hour total audio book. I'm about 2 hours in, and I've had so many thoughts, so many different. I'm like, man, I need to start taking notes and writing this down. That's what I hate about audiobooks because I can't highlight. But it's like, just like you're saying, I mean, here's a perfect example. So a friend of mine, his boy got in trouble at school, and so they took away sports for the week and video games for the week. And he's like, it's amazing. We've been doing more fun stuff because the video games aren't there. So they're like having to find, oh, let's go fishing. Oh, let's go do this. Let's go do that. So they're connecting more now, you know. And even though he keeps the video games and stuff to a minimum, you know, it's like an hour a day or whatever, but it's still like takes away from some of that time, you know. And I'm just like, and so I thought a lot about that. And just like you said, with the GPSs and stuff like that, like I like to use it to kind of figure out where I need to go. But once I know where I'm going, then I don't see a need to use it. And I'll even try to take different routes sometimes, you know, just to get a different scenic view or something like that. But I get that a lot of people, you know, don't do that. And so you're just watching that thing. You don't see the view. You don't see what's going on. You don't have a general consensus of direction even, or what's going on. Yeah, it's a pretty wild thought how we're so immersed in all of this, in technology, just constantly, and what it's doing to us. I was talking to somebody else on another podcast a couple weeks ago about social media and all that, and it's just weird to me how people, they start to like build relationships with people in videos that they watch, you know, to the point where they feel like they have to defend their honor. Yeah, somebody they never met before.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, I can see how that can happen because, like I was saying, it's one of the things that I really like about podcasts, because after you listen to one for a while, it's like you almost feel like you're in the room with them, you know, just having you know, just listening to the conversation. And I obviously have no illusions that I'm friends with these people on these podcasts that I listen to, but some people have that disconnect from reality, and you know, then they start going out on social media, and if anybody trashes them or bad mouths them or says something that they think is you know, directed towards that very special person that they watch on YouTube all the time, then they feel this need to defend them. And that's just so weird. It blows my mind.
And don't you think with like everything being digital and like this lack of the ability to communicate with a complete stranger anymore, and we're losing the ability to read emotions and things like that, that's exactly where that book is leading to. Like, we are missing out on experiences, like what's out the windshield. So Rick was talking about when he's up in the mountains and he's hearing the turkeys and the breeze, or, you know, lack thereof, and the silence. I remember, so two things. I remember being in Alaska one time and it was dead silent. You couldn't hear the wolves. You couldn't hear the water. You couldn't hear anything. And I remember thinking when we were out there hunting, wow, this is almost like, this makes me feel unsettled to have nothing, no cars, no planes, like no animals, no radio, just nothing. And I had a moment there where I thought, wow, that's how accustomed to being busy. And this was almost 10 years ago now, but to being busy and having chronic noise and stimulation around you, to the point where it almost freaked me out for how silent it was. But when you don't have that, and you come back into everyday life and reality, and you can walk in and go buy a bottle of water and the streets are buzzing and people are walking around, then you crave that. I think most of us who love the outdoors crave that. So that's one reality. When you get to experience complete silence like that at any point by being outdoors, whether it's hunting or whatever other experience you want to take it, you don't even realize how much is around you and how much you're affected by it until it's completely gone, and then how much you enjoy having to get away from it. I think everybody that hunts, everybody's like, I need to get, like I said to you when I went elk hunting, I was like, I need to go with you.
Yeah.
I need a couple days.
Yeah.
I need a couple days. But also, when you were talking about that, how we're missing experiences because of the digital world. If let's take national parks, for example, beautiful places, right? So we went to Glacier National Park this year, and you see people literally just pounding down these trails. There's crazy panoramic views around on some of these hikes the entire way. I mean, we saw, what did I tell you, 7 grizzly bears that one day on one trail. Most people just walked right by them because they're not looking to anything but in front of the trail to get to the destination that they saw the end picture. This is what we do. We hike it. We quick take the picture at the end, say we're there, post it, and we go on our way. You're really lacking the entire experience of what the entire hike, we'll just take hiking, for example, that hike had to offer. And it's because this, like the way it's turning into it, the end result.
Oh, yeah.
We're missing the whole in between.
Those are people that are just trying to beat our 7 peaks in 24 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no time to look up.
Yeah, there is zero time to enjoy any of it.
And then we get to the end, and then Rick's looking down because he's throwing up. Yeah.
Just wanted to view your insides. They just came out for a minute. It's fine.
Yeah, Ashley, don't you remember in the live video where I was like, everybody look at this beautiful view, and it's Rick bent over
Yeah.
the railing.
Oh. I mean, honestly, you couldn't have. And I mean, it was a pretty good ending. You pushed yourself
Yeah, we did push ourselves.
and you validated it.
Yeah. Left a little piece of me on the mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Stomach acid.
Yeah, stomach acid. But I really think that that we can really delve into this thought more when we get this book done.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And Ricky and I have been talking, getting you and Kelly on a little bit more. I really do think, and then Ricky and I having conversations too. I just think that I here's the deal, Ricky. Earlier I said, how come you don't have to go to college to be a philosopher? And I you know what I mean? Because I used to have this chip on my shoulder, like, just because you came from the country doesn't mean you're stupid. You know what I mean, kind of thing. Because I think people, you always see the country hick or this and that, and I was thinking, you know what? I've probably read more books than you'll ever think about reading, kind of thing. And I think we can take some of these thoughts and help people out by giving them the permission to think about some of the things we're thinking about. I mean, it doesn't have to be death, and it doesn't have to be this and that all the time. I mean, it will be this and that, but whatever we can think about that would charge as a good conversation.
Well, I think for people in general, regardless of your background, like even if Kelly was here as well, if we just take us 4 lives, our 4 lives sitting right here, we could all sit here and talk about experiences as to why these conversations, we can have such depth to them because of the things we've been through. I think it really depends on the person. If you embrace some of your past, good, bad, or ugly, and think about it and apply it to today to either be better, as you said, or learn from it in some aspect, or just look at things differently, whatever that may be. But I really do think it's that, like, embracing those experiences, regardless of what they are, and taking how you interpret it, the knowledge you have, and applying it to conversations like this.
Yeah, for sure. I think, again, like you were saying, Rick, we're kind of creating a safe space for people to have the conversation, right? Like I mean, I think generally speaking, people don't really want to think about what their obituary is going to be. You know what I mean? They don't want to even think about that kind of stuff. And I have a tendency to do that too. That's not the kind of stuff I want to think about, all that. But when you really start to have these conversations, you're going, man, we do really need to talk about that. And when you can have other people in on that conversation, then it makes it easier to have it, to talk about it. And then it just really gets the mind racing and thinking, man, I've got to be more intentional, and I've got to prioritize things differently.
I do have one more question for both of you, and if Kelly was here, I'd ask him the same question.
Would you?
Yep.
Okay.
I sure would. But did either one of you grow up like really religious? I think you did, didn't you, Rick? For the most part.
My mom was devout Catholic.
Okay.
And you went till, even in high school, you still went. I didn't go as much in, probably junior to senior year. I still went because you had to. But, my problem in life is I kept on asking questions that people didn't want to answer.
Okay.
And that's why I'm glad I'm here on doing this, because I guess before nobody would answer my questions, and now we can discuss them amongst us three, us two, whoever guests we have on. And maybe I'm getting some feedback that these conversations are helping me grow inside. But yes, I grew up devout Catholic. My mom but I always had these questions and I didn't understand and nobody would answer them. So I can say I was religious and I believed, but I was more spiritual, I would say.
Okay. Ricky, what about you?
Yeah, I grew up Catholic, confirmed, and similar to Rick, though, was just because you had to. I hate to say it that way, but it was really, we went to, Wednesday school all the time, and that was actually fun. I loved going to that, hanging out with my friends, but I didn't learn anything. I didn't pay any attention. I remember when I was sitting down with the Monsignor to discuss my confirmation, and he was asking me all kinds of questions, and I didn't even know where Jesus was born. But they still passed me. In any case, went to college, secular, pretty much my entire life from then on until 2016. Had somebody invite me to church, and then that really kind of I really started to dive in then. And then when my dad got sick, and then so there was some things that happened that took place, ended up killing my biggest buck, which I feel weird saying it, but honestly a godsend. Like, I was like, okay, all right, and so ever since then I've dove pretty deep for several years, and then it's not that my belief system is still the same. I just don't dive into it as deep as I used to, because when I was really, really, really diving in deep is when I was kind of at a low point and kind of struggling. And then, since I met Susan, got married, had Emma, we still try to go to church on weekends when we can. And I still read devotionals from time to time. We pray at dinner every day, but I'm not as deep as I was, during that time when my dad passed, before COVID and everything like that. But yeah, so that's kind of the story, I guess.
The reason I ask is because I grew up extremely in a very religious family, like church twice on Sunday, went to a private school, like just it was every single day. Sunday schools on top of other youth groups and whatever. The reason I asked is because when we talk about death, the way I grew up, and I don't know if it's the same for you, either of you, the way I grew up, you practiced religion because you wanted to make sure at the end of the day, you went to a good place, right? That was the goal. But no one ever really, after having these conversations on these last couple episodes now, no one really talks about the actual details of, like dying, the obituaries and things like that. I just find it very fascinating to the point where we're talking about writing our own eulogies, but I have never until recording this have ever had that conversation with anybody, ever. But I've had loads of them on the religious side of heaven and hell or whatever, afterlife you want to believe in. But that's why I ask if you had the same experience where you talk about life after death, whatever that may look like, but we're not actually talking about going through death while we're still here.
Yeah, I can say that I feel like with my deep dive into faith the last 8 years of my life, I've definitely become more comfortable talking about death. I feel a lot more comfortable with it, just knowing kind of that it's that life on earth is the test, and you know what I mean, there's bigger and better things to come, and just knowing that, like, I feel like I can smile about when that day comes. And kind of like what I liked what Kelly said when we talked in the last episode about how, I guess the biggest concern that I have is, just the people that you leave behind. And knowing for me, when you do go to that place, time is different there. You know what I mean? So you'll see your friends and family again in the blink of an eye. But I do feel sad for the people that, I guess, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of just rambling now, but it's hard to define it, I guess. I guess that was where I would have the most sadness, is that just knowing that the people here on earth have a long ways to go yet, or hopefully they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like when we talked in the last podcast, it was about believing I am glad that I have hope that I'm going to a better place. Because I was thinking about this too. Like, you think about an atheist who doesn't believe that you're going anywhere, you're just living and you're dying. And if you knew you were dying and didn't believe that you're going to go anywhere, how cold of a feeling that would be. Like, there's no hope for anything better. There's no hope for it's just, you know what, see you later, guys. It's been fun. And it's not, you know what, I'll see you in a different time. It's like, I'm gone. This is it. Done. And if you don't believe that you're going to a better place, why are we here now? Why are we living our life to the fullest if we don't believe that we're going to be able to enjoy the lives again someday with the people that we care about? I maybe I'm rambling, but I think about this stuff and it drives me crazy. But a widow or a widower, and they get together with somebody else, who and they go to heaven, who they're going to choose? Or, I mean, do you go back to your... Those are things that I think about, but I also think that your life should not stop. If something happens to you and as your spouse at 25, your life should not stop, or 80 or 50 or whatever ages you are. But the hope is that you're going to a better place. So keep living your life to the fullest, because you know what, we're going there. Like I said in the last one, I want to close my eyes, smell the pines, see the last sunset, and know that I had the best people around me in my whole life. And I want you guys to celebrate with a bull rider when you guys get together and remember me,
Absolutely. We can make that happen.
I'm not gonna embarrass Ashley here.
Oh boy.
But here's one thing that I think people need to know, and her friend Olivia, and she's my acquaintance. I'm gonna say we're friends. I mean, I don't know Olivia that well, but Olivia put out a post about Ashley a couple weeks ago. And she said how much Ashley cares about people, how much she made her feel like she was important. She's aunt to her son and this and that. And here's the deal. And this is where I'm getting. And I was going to do this at her birthday party, which is coming up, but I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do it on World Wide Web right now. There is a special person in this world when everybody around her, she makes everybody feel like they're her best friend. And very few people can make somebody feel like they're her best friend. She cares about people, and I've never seen somebody so busy, like, but she cares about everybody out there, that she can spend 20 minutes with you, 5 minutes with me, and 10 minutes with them, and everybody still feels like they're her best friend. And when you do that in this world, you know what I mean? When you have that feeling and you give people that feeling, you're doing the right thing. And I feel like Ricky, you text me this afternoon, because our guest can't talk right now because doesn't have a voice. And you said, "Do you think Ashley will come?" And I said, "I'll call her," and she's busy, but she's here sitting with us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I can say this because I feel it, but she's one of my best friends because I can text her she's probably that one of those 3 a.m. people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't know if she'd answer, but anyway, no, I'm just kidding. She's sleeping, but no,
I might,
but
most likely.
I'm saying when you have people like that in your life that makes everybody feel special, we can learn from those people. And we're lucky enough to have her here talking to us. And I just hope that I can put out that perception. And I know you put out that perspective. So if we don't die rusty can keep people feeling special with each other, that's what this is about. So
Oh, well,
Amen,
thank
brother.
you. Very, very, very seldom am I speechless, but you're making me blush. I know that post, it was amazing, but I think a lot of the episodes that you guys do and the people you talk to have sparked conversations with other people that have made a difference, big difference. And hopefully it's developed relationships. Like Ricky went home and after the last one, talked to Susan about it. They had a whole conversation about life and death. That takes your relationship to another level when you can have deep conversations. So congrats to you guys for sparking all of that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's just who we are.
Yeah. And I want to comment too, and this is nothing against you, Rick. I love you, brother. But we sped home to get here, get Emma in bed, get her read some books so I could get down here so I could get on this episode, because I know, Ashley, you're busy, and the fact that you were on a whim, just at the snap of the fingers willing to be part of this today, I'm like, okay, I got to make an effort to get in there and have this conversation, because I was a little bit bummed out that I made the mistake of getting I got a lot going on too. Let's just put it that way. And I got a few lines crossed in my brain today. So
when you said you didn't know what day it was,
yeah,
I've been there.
Well, I mean, it was funny when you text me. I thought, well, maybe he wants to do it tonight. He doesn't want to do it tomorrow night.
Jeez. I'm like, oh, okay, that's right. It was Wednesday that we were going to record. So I was like, all right. And I forgot that when I texted you, I said, can we get Ashley tonight? And then you text me, you're like, we're in. And I was like, oh my gosh. Look back at the text. I'm like, wow. Dummy.
Whoopsies.
But
it's
anyway,
fine. We've all been there, Ricky.
So yeah, I'm like, I gotta try to get on this tonight so that I can have this conversation with both of you.
But it worked out because it was kind of cool you jumping in, because we were,
I agree,
with our voices saying, oh, look, Ricky's coming on in. This is cool, kind of thing. That's what that means when you brighten up somebody's day.
I was wondering
when you
if you're
come
going to let me in. I was sitting here for 10 minutes.
You were not, were you?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't even see it.
I saw it pop up, like,
just
not
sitting here,
at
I'm like-
first. I saw it sitting there and I was like reading. I was like, Ricky's in the lobby. What does that mean?
Well, I was looking at Ashley trying to have this conversation, and she said, "Well, look at there! Jesus,
There he is."
So
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you jumped on.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked.
How do you think I got this flashy studio set up? I was just trying to jump in real quick, and then while I was waiting, I'm like, well, let's see. I'll get some mood lighting. Maybe I'll grab a few plants.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Because that's what we are going to do someday. Is we're going to really do a Between the Two Ricks one, just to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the end here, I think, because I don't want to really talk about the extinction of experience till we have all of us have kind of read it a little bit more and have more talks about it. Because I think we can delve into this for another 5-6 hours. So
Quite possible.
But we could. So here's the deal. Instead of saying, what's a good life? I think we should say, what's the next big adventure or dream that you're going to be going on for an experience, you know?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Ricky, you go first.
Well, I got a few, but maybe I'll elaborate a little bit more on, because I kind of, when Rick and I were talking about Susan and I's anniversary, I guess I was like, well, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that and we're gonna do this, and then when I listened to the episode this morning, I was like, wow, man, I really seem like I'm not excited about our anniversary that's coming up. So part of this is a little bit of redemption. Part of this is going to be a little bit of redemption, but so Susan had a really great idea, and so I'm really excited about this. You guys are going to laugh. So we're going to rent an Airbnb, but the Airbnb is our house, and so we're going to pack some bags, and we're going to throw them in the back of the car, and we're going to take a drive around the block, and then we're going to pull back up to the house like we're coming into some new experience, new Airbnb, and we're going to walk into our own house, and we're just going to enjoy this space for the evening. And we've got all kinds of fun little things planned. So that's what we're going to do for our anniversary coming up here in a couple of weeks. So that's the next big adventure for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, you know, and to use the imagination and doing that stuff, that is very, very, very cool. Who would think about that stuff? That's
Susan.
That's things. Yeah,
Susan
but that's
thinks about that kind of stuff.
That's things to think about and do. That's awesome.
Yep.
It is good because
when she said it, she was like, I'm like, I love that.
And how much do you pay for that a night?
Well,
rental.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, more people, we should all be doing that. Where we do nothing but just enjoy the homes that we live in.
Yep, exactly. Figure we'll pay ourselves a couple $100, tax write-off.
There you go.
No cleaning fee. We can waive that one for the Airbnb.
Yep.
You know what? And
that's right.
And you can leave the dishes in the sink.
Absolutely. The owner's not going to care. They'll care a little bit. They'll get over it. It's fine. Oh,
very
man.
cool.
Yep.
So how about you, Ashley?
Well, a couple things come to mind. Yeah, like Ricky said, there could be a lot, right, when you dial it in. But I have a big birthday coming up in a few weeks, a turn of a decade. Yeah. So that will be fun to celebrate or mourn, whatever. And also,
you're
I'm
30,
really
right?
looking forward. Yeah, for the 10th year.
Yeah.
I know, we just keep celebrating 29.
Yeah.
Again and again and again. And then I'm really excited for November. I know we brought up hunting before to look forward to. But my dad also has a Black Hills rifle tag. And I do. And so I never got to deer hunt with my dad as a child. So the fact that I've been able to get to do that with him as an adult, it's amazing. And it's like something, I mean, you could probably offer me a free trip somewhere. I don't know if I'd be as excited as I am about getting to hunt with him out in the Black Hills of South Dakota.
That's cool.
And he is like, it's almost like roles were reversed. He's like the kid coming out, and he's got that new joy because in Iowa we don't rifle hunt, and he's only done it one time out here, and Jesse was with him and I wasn't. I was like, of course. But he was like a small child on his like second hunt ever, all over again, learning something completely new, hunting new territory. And so I'm really looking forward to that. So I think he's coming out the entire week of Thanksgiving, which is one of my favorite holidays. And I'll get to spend a whole week in the woods hunting with him. So I'm pumped for that. Like, big thing coming up.
That is very, very
Yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because
That'll
like
be fun.
this weekend, I'm heading to Montana. One last shot at trying to get my elk with my bow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be alone, and I love that peacefulness, and it's just one of those things that I enjoy. Then I'll be. It's funny, like you said, except I didn't draw Black Hills. I drew East River,
Yeah.
and so I'll be going back to see my dad for East River deer season coming up here in about a month, and then in between there, I'm probably Thanksgiving week. I'll go back to Montana, rifle hunting deer, and if I don't get my elk, I'll go back elk hunting.
Nice.
And it's just those peaceful times, and we'll see what happens, But
Yeah.
those are, I don't know. It's funny just the time spent in the woods. I mean, Cindy and I have talked about going on a couple trips. In the earlier part of this podcast, I told Ashley I'm not aging well, Ricky, because I still think I'm 25 at times, but my body says I'm 56. And
Mm-hmm.
but with all this stuff we've been talking about, getting older isn't so bad in the aspect because you start thinking about life and you start thinking about spending it with the people you should. And right now I'm spending quality time with the people that are important to me. And so thank you guys. Truly thank you two here right now make me happy, and I feel very, very lucky, to do that. And then to go on adventures with Cindy somewhere would be fun too. We just got to decide where to go. But
Mm-hmm.
I just keep on thinking every day how lucky I am that
Mm-hmm.
I have you guys. I have other people, a few other people too. But it's funny how when you get older, your circle gets smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lucky to have those people that I really can count on. And so thank you there. So both of you. But that's where I plan on doing
Likewise.
is
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
I just those little things. I really do appreciate my alone time. But if I don't know how to express this, but like I said, this little hike, it's only about 2.5, 3 miles that Cindy and I do. It's a little loop, but I don't know why it's just a beautiful country. Like I said, that's where I'm going to be. Some of my ashes are going to be, but it always seems to come at the right time of the year because we just start getting tired. And if you get to see these wonderful places with each other, you draw yourself a little closer. And hunting hasn't. I'm not. I'm not hunting for. Let me see. I'm 56, so hunting since for 40 years roughly has been the number one priority in my life probably. We'll take 10 years off, so we'll say 30 years has been the number one priority in my life. And now that I'm getting older, I'm thinking like 3 to 4 adventures a year that you can truly have a fire burning and go out there and do that. But it's like I like spending time with the people that have been there for me, and I just want to have those memories with those people and yet be alone at other times. So, I mean, I was hunting 60 to 70 days a year. Truly.
Yep.
I was doing that, and now it's like, you know what? I'll take a week here or do this and that, but talking and enjoying a concert with somebody or supper or driving to somewhere and taking pictures or in any other adventure I can go on, I'm really, really growing older. Not that I'll ever stop hunting,
Mm-hmm.
but it's another aspect of my life now. It's not just the passion.
It's
And
purpose.
it's the purpose. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong here, Ricky. I mean, maybe, but life is just taking a different path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're wrong. I think that's a natural way of things for sure.
You know, that one, if you have 4 big adventures a year hunting, I don't need to be out there 60 days a year to lose the experiences that were around me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can go shed hunt and I can go deer hunting, elk hunting, do whatever else I can draw. But there's just going to a little concert with Cindy on Saturday night, or going to like renting out our house to ourselves because that's a cool idea. Those are things that are really that really affect a person, and it should affect your relationship. So
Yes, sir.
anyway, I want to thank you guys, and as I think we'll get moving on here because it's getting late for Ricky because he jumped on driving home like in his NASCAR vehicle and jumped on, and then I didn't notice that he was waving a flag, yellow flag there. And then Ashley has a big fashion show tomorrow that she's doing, and I'm just going to work. So, but thank you guys for all you do, and we'll be signing off here. So thank you for listening, Don't Die Rusty Nation, and keep chasing your dreams, living your best life, and of course, don't die rusty.